The term Latinx gained momentum over the past few years among politicians, universities, and corporations as a gender-neutral alternative to Latino and Latina. Historians believe the X may have come out of Latin American feminist movements from the 1970s or even as a nod to the civil rights movement here in the US. But use of the term spiked on Google in June of 2016 after the Pulse nightclub shooting, which left 49 people dead, most of whom were members of the LGBTQ community and of Latin heritage. Latinx has since been used as an inclusive term to include those who identify outside the gender binary. But a new survey from a Democratic pollster shows that the term is not popular among Hispanic voters. Only 2% of those polled refer to themselves as Latinx, while 68% preferred Hispanic and another 21% opted for Latino or Latina. The poll also found Latinx bothered 40% of respondents, and 30% even noted that they are less likely to support a candidate who used the term. Joining me now to discuss are Rafael Bernal, reporter for The Hill. So Rafael, give us what your best take on the genesis of this term. Is it as we explained, kind of a spike after the Pulse nightclub, or does it have kind of a longer lineage than that?
After the Pulse nightclub is an important moment for sort of gender inclusiveness in the Latino community or the Hispanic community or the Latinx community. So yeah, that is the point where it took off. Where it came from is a little bit murkier, as you were saying. Right now in Latin America, there's a lot of using an E, the E sound instead of Latina or Latino. People would say Latine. But in general, all these gender inclusive terms and sort of derivations of the Spanish language to make it more inclusive are exclusive to very politically activated members of the Hispanic community in the United States and just people in Latin America. So I'm not surprised there's a large number of people that are sort of turned off by this language, but I am surprised that it's as high as 40%. We've seen this issue comes back every couple of months within the community. It's a discussion that sort of dies down after a while and then comes back from the grave, and there's a little bit of discussion, but more and more I think Hispanics are accepting of people defining themselves individually by whatever demonym they choose, but the traditional demonyms sort of to include the entire community, liberals, conservatives, politically activated, not politically activated, throughout the gender and racial spectrum.
There are some people online who basically say that this has been imposed on the Latino community by rich white progressives. What do you think of that argument?
There is some of that because it is sort of the degenderizing of the Spanish language spoke very close to the heart for progressives, many of whom are sort of rich white culture, coastal elites. But I also know that a lot of Latinx, and I use this term because they call themselves that, progressives really like the term because they are also part of the gender inclusiveness fight, and they want to be referred to as that. So it's not exclusive to the rich white coastal elite progressive sort of type, but that type, to put it that way, did try to sort of step on the gas pedal and have everybody use Latinx, and that did sort of rub the wrong way a lot of people in the community. But it is by no means exclusive usage to them, to that crowd.
Right. So is this kind of rubbing the wrong way just inherent in the fight for inclusion, regardless of whether it's about labeling or language or whatever? The LGBT community, with everyone in it, is tiny. The people within the LGBT community who are non-binary is even smaller than that. So it's a tiny slice of the population anyway. And so when people try to be inclusive, they're never going to be able to say, oh, that's because everybody agrees with it, because that portion, whether they're Latin or Hispanic, Black, Asian, whatever, that slice is small. The idea, though, is to try to be inclusive in some way, whether Latinx is the right way or not, that's for another debate, but in some way of this minority, they can't do it themselves. We have to include them. People, sometimes use they, them in regular language. Not everybody agrees with that, but we're trying to find some way to include the people who are not part of the gender binary. Is this just inherent in the attempt that you're going to get resistance from the people who are not kind of sensitive to that perspective?
That's actually a really good point, because there's the sort of the pronoun debate. There is a certain measure, no doubt, of homophobia and transphobia in resistance to using gender inclusive terms. Yes, I mean, no, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But in the term Latinx, there's also a little bit of erasure of the Spanish language and sort of anglicizing of Hispanic culture. So you really have a confrontation of two ends there. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one there.
Right. Rafael Bernal, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for the education as well. Thank you. I appreciate your time.